We're jumping into a discussion right now that many of you might not want your little ones to listen in on, so we like to give you that chance to scoot little ears and children out of the room while we have a conversation geared more for the grown-ups. We're talking about intimacy, specifically ways to create a more loving, passionate sexual relationship with your spouse. It's all about using your brain power to be better in the bedroom, a concept my next guest believes can lead to happier, stronger marriages. Laura Brotherson is a licensed sex therapist and respected Christian author. Her most recent book, Knowing Her Intimately, addresses this very topic. Laura, thanks for being here.
Wonderful to be here.
You allow us to address this topic because you handle it so respectfully and appropriately, so thank you for that. You say sex really does begin in the brain. So how can our thoughts improve our relationships, our intimate relationships?
Well, sex is a really big part. Last segment that I was here, we talked about that the emotional connection in the relationship is kind of the primary fuel of sexual desire, but right next to it is our thoughts, our core beliefs, our attitudes about sex. And so if you've got just this negative mindset about sex itself, then you're gonna have a really hard time getting to a feeling of desire and being really actively, enthusiastically engaged in the bedroom.
You boil it down to the phrase mental discipline. It takes mental discipline. So speaking of that desire you tapped into, how can mental discipline then lead to more desire?
So think about it this way. If you don't have the ability to keep out what I like to call the stinking thinking about sex, I mean, if you've got a bunch of negative self-talk going on about sex, about your husband, about your relationship, about your body. Body image is huge for women. If you don't have the discipline to keep that stuff out and the discipline to program the positives in, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
And we hear over and over the power of the brain, right, in many different topics and applications.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I think women think, all right, yeah, think positive, be positive, but you really see that make a difference in relationships.
It's huge because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when you don't continually tell your brain, I don't like sex, I don't like, it takes too long, the kids might hear. If you're constantly telling yourself that, you are going to manifest that. And your spouse especially can feel that in the bedroom. It's like you're not really present.
You have some ways to use our thoughts to improve our intimate relationships, our sexual intimacy. Up first, you say, speaking to women, you've got to develop a sexy state of mind.
Yes, very simply, all that means is the overall default of your thinking is, I like myself, I like or accept my body, even its imperfections, and I'm willing to share it with you, now, husband.
Hold on, what if you don't like or accept your body in its current state? Then what?
Then you need to read my book and do all the work, because I've got a ton of exercises to help people through that. That's a tough thing.
Can every woman get there?
Yes. Or I wouldn't be doing what I do. If I didn't think people could get there, I would not be doing what I do. So yes, they can get there.
We talked before the break a little bit on the distraction pile, right? Women have a lot on their minds. Sometimes it's hard to focus on lovemaking. So how, again, going back to that mental discipline, how can it help us here weed out the distractions? So
with that mental discipline, you've got inside the bedroom and outside of the bedroom kind of mental discipline. The outside of the bedroom is kind of developing that, kind of like we talked about last time too, this healthy sexual identity that you see sex as a good thing and you embrace sex as an important part of your wholeness, your being. Mm-hmm. But also inside the bedroom, we are such the World Wide Web, as you say, in our thinking. We've got 15 things on our mind at all times that we've got to be good at shutting out the distractions. So while men may struggle with keeping out 15 different sexual thoughts in an hour or in a day, we're trying to keep out 15 different distractions and focus in on lovemaking within the bedroom.
Isn't that an interesting give and take?
It's an opposite kind of thing.
You have a blueprint of sorts to help women avoid anything that might get in the way of an enjoyable sexual experience. Speaking to that in the moment mental discipline that's required.
Yeah, that sexual blueprint goes back to kind of part of that is that healthy sexual identity. I see myself as a sexual being. I see that as a good thing. But couples, women especially, have to go back through and clean out a lot of crap, if you will, about that they feel about sexuality and about their body and all of those different distractors. And they've got to kind of clean all that out and develop more of a healthy blueprint. I think of it, I like to think of it in terms of you've got to clean out the mental weeds and then replace it with mental flowers. And that's that, get the negative out and feed in, program in positive. One of the specific ways that helps people do this is I often assign homework for couples to get the audio book or any of my podcasts or just positive, healthy, affirming sexuality, listen to it as much as they can, because then you're countering all of the negative that we have, and there's no positive out there anywhere about sex, no affirmation, and we've got to have more of that, and that's what I'm trying to do.
I understand on the flip side, you also work with your clients to help identify the negative thoughts that might be holding them back.
Yes.
Why is there power in that? What's the point in that?
If you don't go in and kind of clean out that garbage thinking, it just kind of stays in there and it kind of seeps in where you're not really noticing it, because most of it you're not conscious of. Most people that I ask outright will say, no, I've got a good, healthy opinion of sex. And then I start talking to them and they're like, but I hate this and I hate this and I'm always worried about this and I'm always thinking about this and I really am tired and I'd rather go to bed. You know, you've got to work through that so that you don't have that as the dominant thought process.
Valuable conversation. I know it's a valuable chapter in your book as well. This is selling. People are excited to get their hands on it. Where can we pick up a copy?
So anywhere, hopefully, but strengtheningmarriage.com, and knowing her intimately. I really tried to make this a self-help sex therapy for anyone, because there's just not enough good help out there to help people with this. And so I tried to make it real easy for people to walk through and do it themselves.
You do that. You do it well. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you.